Hey, welcome to the 527th episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patrons Paul Power and Susan. I'm Oren Kaplan.
And I'm Matt and Oren. Today we've got Joe Saroufim from Kimmelot on the show. This is part 2 of our creative director series. Oren and I are both traveling, so he's in a hotel in Austin, and I'm in a hotel in Toronto, so this is going to be a very short intro. But this is a really great conversation with Joe. Let us know if you're enjoying these conversations with creative directors. I think it's a really cool way for directors to get a little bit more insight into the types of collaborators that we have agency side. And both JK and Joe have been really generous with their time, and we really appreciate them. And they're real cool dudes. So thanks, everyone. Let's hop into the episode.
I don't necessarily know what a creative director is across the board, but I know what I do, I guess, which is come up with creative campaigns for different brands that I work with. So that might be a commercial, that might be an out-of-home campaign, that might be a music video, that might be a short film, a documentary, anything that is kind of in the entertainment space, basically trying to find ways to use entertainment, tap into culture to create connections for a brand and to connect them to the consumers that they're looking to connect with.
When you say, oh, it could be this or it could be that, maybe it's out of home, maybe it's an activation, does the brand have that in mind when they come to you? Are they like, hey, Joe, you really want to do a music video? Or is that something that you're presenting to them?
It really depends on where the brief starts. Sometimes it is very specific and say, hey, we have a sweepstakes we need to do, and we're just trying to come up with a name and a activation around this sweepstakes. And you're like, okay, that's pretty straightforward. And other times it's like, here's our problem. And basically we need a brand therapist to help us with our problem. And that might mean kind of reinventing their approach from scratch. And that might mean something as simple as like, oh, actually you just need to ramp up social in this space and this space. And so it really just depends on the brief. I had a screenwriting instructor back in college very many years ago that we would come in. He's like, every student's like, okay, like here's my screenplay idea, and he'd say, is this actually a screenplay? Is this meant to be a screenplay? And the answer would be like, yeah. He's like, why? He's like, well, because we're in a screenwriting class. And he's like, yeah, but it might not be. That might be a novel, or that might be a documentary, or that might be a short story or a poem. Like it's not necessarily a screenplay just because you're in a screenwriting class. And I think in advertising as a creative director, I take the same approach. It might not be a commercial just because we're working with a brand. It could be something entirely different. Just need to figure out like what the problem is that we're trying to solve for and what the best medium to solve that is.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's also something where like, I feel like that feels new relative to the last, 5 years or so. Like it used to be that like, or at least it seemed that if you were in advertising, you did X, Y, or Z, right? Like, and there were different departments amongst, a big agency. But I suspect that digital has kind of made that all a little softer, so that you're pitching commercials and activations and music videos and branded content and documentaries all at once. Is that right, or is that just a wishy-washy guess?
I think the way in which you come up with ideas is still similar in that like you're coming up with the core creative concept that really would work across all different platforms. But now instead of just having a handful of deliverables, you're delivering it and adapting it to so many different digital mediums. So and so many, you guys have this as commercial directors. It's like, oh, like, are we shooting this 9x16 or 16x9? It's like, well, both. And it's like, oh, okay. And 1x1. Yeah. And 4x3. And we need to have
there's
it
a 6 second
TikTok
and a 5 second.
Yep. Exactly. 6 second
Yeah.
there's also a 3 second. And
Yeah.
so, but at the end of the day, what these all have in common is that there should be some kind of core piece of creative strategic thinking that really ties it all together.
I do find recently that like I'll be, researching a brand or something to pitch to them or on them with them. And I'll see that like what they have on YouTube is like very different than their broadcast spots, or I'll work on like a broadcast TV campaign and they won't put any of their stuff on like Instagram or YouTube, or like that the work is a lot more focused audience wise, and that a lot of like the social channels don't want the like polished work on there, you know, and I think I find that kind of interesting, and how like it did seem like the brand was like kind of where you start. Like, I mean, my, you know, touch point is always like Mad Men, you know, like if you want like, you know, the cigarette brand, like everywhere you see it, whether it's on a billboard or on a radio ad or on a TV commercial, it should feel the same and should have the same kind of tone. But I feel like today you do have like a little more
Right.
UGC stuff. And like, if it's like a consumer brand, like a makeup brand, you might have like L'Oreal might have, you know, Charlize Theron doing like TV spots, but then or Kylie Jenner, whoever does L'Oreal, and then you'll have like an influencer doing their social media stuff.
Yeah, I think the core creative idea remains the same, but it's not matching luggage, right? So it's still based in the same insights and the same objective, but how you show up on social media is different than how you would show up at a Super Bowl ad or in store and point of sales or other places.
I wonder, is there, to Oren's point of like, oh, there were brands that are only posting certain types of content online versus their broadcasts, etc. Is that like a symptom of budget, right? Because so often it feels like the smaller the job, the more deliverables, right? And I wonder if that strategically we understand that, like, in an ideal world, your online looks like, your social looks like social, and your broadcast looks like broadcast. But if you don't have the money to do both right, you kind of end up splitting the difference, and that's where we end up in that world of shooting 9x16 and 16:9 and all in between. Is that a budget thing, or is that just like an inexperience thing? Or
I guess it depends. I mean, there's certainly some brands that don't have the money to be buying, you know, broadcast spots, but I think at the same time, most brands are seeing that they're probably getting better, you know, performance from anything that they're doing on social, or it's more conversion on those spaces. But, you know, I'm not a strategist, but I would say that, you know, for the most part, there has to be that balance between awareness for your brand, just like everyone just knowing who you are, and then those ads that are more like in your pocket on your phone that are, you know, listening to what you're talking about and then serving up an algorithm and at the right time and converting you into a customer. And then you say, oh, I do know about this brand. I heard about them, you know, on that podcast, or I heard about them on the, you know, the TV commercial I saw, or I saw that billboard. So I trust now that I'm being served this ad that I'm going to convert, go buy that product.
That's cool. I am interested. We talked before we started recording about how you studied filmmaking, or you studied screenwriting at UCLA, and you kind of come from a filmmaking background. I'm curious, like how much of that you bring into your work now, and like what the balance is of like filmmaker and storyteller versus like conversions and KPIs and commerce and like focus groups and stuff.
I'm still more comfortable on set than I am anywhere else, in any sort of pitch room or even in my own home. It's just like being on set just feels the most natural thing. Even before studying at UCLA, I went to film school at Boston University. You know, I was making films in school, moved out to LA. I was making content, directing independent TV shows, whatever that means. And just
web series is what that means.
Yeah, now, but we're old, you know.
Just send them to people on DVDs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I actually have some if you guys want me to send you.
Cool.
Yeah. So that just was, I think, where I was most naturally just seemed to fit and enjoy being. And nowadays, I don't think necessarily a ton of advertising creative grew up on set, right? Even before directing things, I was a PA, and then when I was a PA, or when I was an intern, even on set, I'd say, like, hey, I don't want to just work in the AD department. I want to work in the electrical department today. And then, like, you can't just jump between departments. I go, yeah, but you're not paying me. So it's like, what are you going to do? And they're like, okay, fine. So I'd work in props one day. I'd be a grip one day. I'd work, you know, in the electrical department another day. Just I wanted to learn everything on set and just be comfortable on set. So I knew when it was my time to have a set, I would feel like I was in the right place and know what I was doing. I think now that's probably one of the biggest assets for me when I get on set with a director. I don't try to direct projects myself anymore. I hire directors who are better than me at it. But I think, and I don't know, maybe Matt will tell you otherwise because we did work together, but that I understand like what I'm doing on set, and therefore I'm not giving bad notes that don't make any sense. And I think the day just goes a lot smoother when you're working on set with people who have been in the director's shoes before and understand that process. And the collaborations that I've had, I think, like some of my good friends now, or people who I started working with as I was creative director, they're the director, and just kind of built those really great relationships, and always looking forward to doing it again with those people.
Can I ask you, I guess on that note, like what filmmaking stuff did you bring to this job that you had to drop? Like you mentioned Final Draft earlier on.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about that, and also things that you have to tell directors that you work with, like, hey, yes, that dolly shot is really awesome, but this is a 15-second commercial, and it is not going to.
Yes, that's
let's not waste time.
That's one of the biggest ones, because I have also done a number of projects where I've brought in film directors to work on commercials. One of my favorite all-time experiences was bringing Jean-Pierre Jeunet, director of Amélie, to direct a project, and he brought Janusz Kaminski to shoot it. We launched the Marriott Bonvoy campaign. So I was like, what am I doing? I was like, I pitched this whole idea as, I was like, yeah, it's kind of going to have like a Jean-Pierre Jeunet vibe to it. It's going to, feel like this magical realism, and we're going to go from country to country and hotel to hotel. And then after kind of pitching it,
beans in every hotel.
Right. And then we're just like, why don't we just ask Jean-Pierre Jeunet to direct it and see if he will? And he's like, let's do it.
Wait, how hard or easy was it to get him? Was it just like
it was easier to get him to be interested in it to do it than it was, to pitch that idea to the client. Because unlike maybe some more traditional advertising directors, his treatment was a little bit more like an essay. And with a couple
reel was like
images
7 hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we just watched a very long engagement.
Yeah.
They were like, wait, which alien did he direct?
Yeah.
Which alien? Is it the fourth?
The fourth.
That is so funny, because I
pretty
think
bad.
for us coming from like a film background, we're like, wow, you could get Janusz Kaminski, and Jean, like that. Of course you would do that. And then just hearing you in a meeting to the client, like, hey, we can get the director of Amélie. And they're like, what is Amélie?
Right. Immediately I think of like, it's a triple bid and there's two schmucks with Amélie references in their treatment,
Yes, 100%. And it was a triple bid, and there was some, very good treatments that we got for that. I just had this hunch. I was like, I really think that he's going to be able to pull it off. And, the chemistry was there, which is another thing too. I didn't necessarily expect that part of it, but his willingness to collaborate and just kind of be open to ideas and to get the sense kind of, pretty quickly, he's like, okay, this guy actually kind of knows what he's talking about. And then I kind of won his trust maybe early on. And then it became a real like collaboration. We went to 5 or 6 different countries together to go shoot a commercial, and had some really great dinners in the process.
It's so funny because I think Matt and I usually think of the relationship as us when the creative directors trust, not
usually, yeah, right.
Sure,
but in this case, when you're working with 20 years prior to that, I was like in the American Cinematheque, like sitting in the front row during a double feature of his, and being like, Mr. Jean-Pierre Jeunet, how can I become a filmmaker?
Yeah.
And then to have the opportunity to hire him, later on in my career was pretty exciting.
Can I ask, was he competitive price-wise with the other directors?
Yeah. I think it's pretty much the same. They came in, the bids are all
That sucks.
pretty similar.
That totally sucks, man.
I want you to be directors don't know how much commercial directors make. They're like, I make this much a
Someone
day.
should have told them though. Like, I feel like, God, if that guy can't name his price, who can?
But think about the feature world though too, and where that has been going. It's like there's so few and far between. You just like in the commercial world, you spend your time writing and pitching ideas, and how many of them are actually going to go through? When they do, great. But in the meantime, you guys know this, but it's
That's why we're all here.
But it's the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same for some of those legacy names like that. But going back to your question, right? Like things that I maybe learned about from being on set that I try to bring into that. First, when I started working in advertising and I was writing scripts. Like the very first script that I wrote, I started writing in like Final Draft software, and people are like, "What is this? Like, is this not how we write things?" Yeah, they're like, "What? I can't." Yeah, exactly. And I was like, "Oh, it's just how you write a script." And they're like, "Nope, not in advertising. You don't. You just like write a bunch of words like down the side of the page and choose your own format. Like, do you want to bold people's names? Do you want to, italicize scene direction? There's not really a way to necessarily do that." But so yeah, there was definitely this learning curve. In the first couple of years, I was a new advertising creative, so you don't get on set quite as much as you would maybe further along in your career. But then when I was able to kind of get on set, I think it was pretty quickly clear that like I understood how to, I understood every department and what they were doing. So I wasn't kind of getting lost in that space. So I would be giving directors suggestions that actually made sense for the moment. I wasn't jumping in and correcting a line reading on a rehearsal. And I wasn't, doing it before they had a chance to make their own tweak or edit on that, initial kind of, couple of takes. But then I would kind of know the right time to kind of step in and say, okay, hey, I think we got to try it like this way and this way. Let's do a rewrite. This is getting too long. You mentioned like the timing. It's always a thing that I had to learn pretty quickly, because I also, coming from writing screenplays and working on features, that was a learning curve for me too. It's like, okay, how do we make this shorter, 15 seconds or 30 seconds? And starting to learn to write things modularly, where you could pull out in the edits, to say, oh, okay, this line could actually connect with this. Oh, this pencil just came in from nowhere. This line just actually can connect with, this third line, even if we lose the second line, but the second line will be good for the 30, but this other way will be good for the 15. And then this one line here encapsulates everything we want to say, and that's going to be great for the 6 second. Being able to think about things in that way, I think, is really helpful for advertising. Be able to think essentially, I used to edit my own projects too, back in the day. And it's like, when you're thinking like an editor, when you're thinking like, oh, back in college, I used to edit on a flatbed Steenbeck, right?
Sure.
And it's like, you don't have a lot of chances to make mistakes. So you really have to think about the edit when you're shooting. And I think that's something too that I'm always trying to think about on set, is like, how's this guy actually edits? And if we're going to be able to have a 30-second spot, a 6 second, 15 second.
Yeah, I do think that is like a thing that, sometimes you see these like oners commercials, and I think we all dream of like making them, but it's like, because of all those things you just said, they are really quite difficult to nail, and you cannot edit it. And I think a lot of people that come from a narrative background don't go into a commercial shoot thinking what are we going to do if the client doesn't like this one word,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach everything, is like, hey, what are the 10 different ways I can rearrange this without it feeling like a modular piece, with every single cut feeling deliberate and intentional.
Exactly.
Well, you make me think though, Oren, like a recurring theme that you hear from like the directors who make like our favorite work is that it takes both great creative and a great client to make something that awesome, right? Like the client has to be aware, oh, if we're going in to do a oner, they have to understand exactly what that means big picture wise. That they won't be able to nitpick a single line or edit something out, right? So I'm curious, Joe, outside of the creative that I think that filmmakers probably understand, like the pitching and writing and actual execution, what are the other things that you're doing to just kind of like prime a client on what it's going to take to bring this spot to life, or what makes something good, right? Like we always joke, sometimes a client would just prefer if we just said the brand names as many times as you could fit in 30 seconds, and that would be that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just hire a model to say Nike over and over again. Yeah. What are you doing to tee them up for success?
I mean, I think at this point, options is like such a big thing, to being able to give them something to say yes to by showing them other things at the same time. I mean, for me now, because I run the department, I'm on calls like a lot, like with the actual clients who are making the decisions, right? So there's the ability to kind of get on a phone call, a Zoom, and really just kind of like talk through the thinking behind it, right? As opposed to just sending a big deck with a bunch of ideas and like hoping that they like one of them. it becomes a collaboration, which is always better. Whether it's on like collaboration on set, collaboration in writing, or collaboration with the client, when we're collaborating and talking through things together, and not like an us versus them. It's like, oh, we're gonna make this great creative, and the client's gonna like fight it. It's like, no, like what? Like, let's work on it together, because we're all working towards the same goal, right?
And they're also your coworkers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You're going to work with them for ideally many years, right? In success, right? So like having that kind of combative sort of vibe.
I never understood that. I never understood the creatives who were like, it's us versus them, and like, I got to fight for this, or else, something's gonna happen. I mean, I think sometimes it comes from a good place of saying like, we really believe that this is going to be better for the brand and have a better performance if this happens. And I think in those cases, it is really important to kind of quote unquote fight for what it is that you think will work. But it's not really a fight. It's just basically just like trying to show them why. You have to come with proof points of like, why do you think that this is going to be better than that, and kind of get them to go on that walk with you and earn that trust. There's been projects where we've had to really work to like earn the trust of the client, and then it's come out great. And then the next time around, it's like, hey, we don't quite get this. We see that there's a vision here. I'm not totally sure on this vision, but we saw what you did last time. We trust you, so we're gonna like go ahead and go with it. Another thing.
Does that ever make you nervous?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it does. It's like, okay, I better deliver this on this one.
Sure. Sorry,
I'd say another thing that we've done in the past is internally, like within my department and with close collaborators from an editing standpoint, have built some like animatics essentially to sell an idea, or like build like rip videos to get an idea across the line. For one client, pitched the idea of doing a 2-minute mock musical in the style of like, Hamilton, right? With like songs and the whole thing, like costumes and everything for a beverage client. And they were at first, there's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? Like a mock musical, and how's that going to look? Is that going to be cool? And I just decided, I was like, all right, I'm going to write some lyrics. I'm going to, hire someone just to do like put a little bit of music to that, find like a stock track, and, put background to the music. I may or may not have rapped some lyrics.
Sure.
And then put it, and then we edited it together, just like a bit of a rip video. And then they saw, and they're like, oh my God. They're like, we're taking this to our national sales meeting, and we're going to show it to them as a proof of concept of the idea that's going to come next year. And that sort of thing, being able, I guess, again, coming back to having.
Wait, can we see the final product of that?
Yeah, you can see the
Is it out already?
Yeah. That's out. That was called, it was Smirnoff Ice Smash Tea Party.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was about the creation of Smirnoff Ice Smash Tea, which you might not know was created when a person named Smirnoff and a person named Smear and a person named Knopf were met at the Boston Tea Party, and came together. It's a love story.
I actually know a person named Knopf.
There you go.
Could have cast it.
Yeah.
It's very realistic.
What I love about that also, because Oren and I both are pretty huge fans of animatics, but I think that it forces you to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the actors. And so you just have a better understanding of what it is they're going through and how you might perform the line or whatever. But also when you present them, you get that performance anxiety, that flop sweat as well. So like when you put it in front of a brand, you have to know you really believe in it, because it's as scary as acting in any other circumstance.
That's the pitching a script. I mean, writers are already like, if you guys are writers, it's like we're gonna have sensitive people.
Sure.
Sharing your work, just having it like, just picked apart and like beaten down by a client, like who's not really thinking about the fact that like, oh yeah, this person that's presenting this also wrote this, and it might not be
the character's named after his mom.
I remember we were working with Steve Ballmer actually on a project years and years ago, and I wrote this script that used the Muppets, and then I got into that room and I realized I can't just read this just like Joe
without voices.
I have to do the voices of the Muppets. So I'm like on a Zoom during COVID with Steve Ballmer just doing like Kermit and like Sam Eagle and Miss Piggy, like, and he's like going all in and talk about.
Did you have those voices up your sleeve?
Apparently I did. And I don't ask me to do it now because I would not be able to do it. But like, I just, in the moment, I was like, I guess I got to commit. And I just did it.
Yeah.
No,
I think also when you put yourself out there like that. Yeah, and that's true. That's true. But I think that also, if you're earnest, you can get them on board, right? There's a little bit of like, and a little selflessness and being willing to do your best, Miss Piggy, for the client.
Yeah.
I think it kind of earns some trust.
Did you see that Muppet commercial? No, because I didn't. That one didn't sell.
I saw one for Booking.com at the Super Bowl.
No, that's not me. No, that's different. Yeah. But we did sell something though to him, so we did win that. We did win that pitch, but it wasn't the Muppets. Yeah.
The Clippers.
Yeah, it was the Clippers.
That's awesome. Yeah, to me, like I think just hearing you talk about these things, like one great thing that came out of COVID and one horrible thing that came out of COVID. The great thing is that now when we're pitching, at least as directors to creatives, we're on Zoom and we see your faces. It used to be that we would just be on a speakerphone, one of those Cisco triangle speakerphones, and we have no clue what is happening on the other side. You might not even be in the room.
Yeah.
Well, before I worked in advertising, really, when I was actually writing screenplays and doing different things in the entertainment business, I would make extra money by writing treatments, like ghostwriting treatments for directing. Am I allowed to say that? You guys talk about the fact that the people ghostwrite treatments.
We have had the ghosts on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. So but I'd be on those phone calls, and no one would know I was there because there was no Zoom. So I'd just be sitting on that call taking notes. They record those calls sometimes and send them to me, and I would just hear the director talk about with the vision on that call, and then I kind of make up my own stuff about how we should direct this, and just kind of come up with the commercials.
Should I direct this instead?
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's so many director/treatment writers.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them came up from like, wait, I keep winning these big jobs for other people. I should write the job.
I know a pretty successful treatment writer actually, and I think his secret weapon is that he does not have any ambition to direct commercials. He's like a feature guy, and so like I think he can be pretty detached from it, and like he's super fast. He writes them with his eyes shut. Does not.
The best creative always comes from detached people. That's
well. I think objective though, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, my friend Greg built a company writing treatments. It's called Treat, and he just got my jobs. Yeah. And then that's all, that doesn't, he's not trying to direct, the projects. He just like is making a business out of doing treatments.
Yeah. Pitching. That's cool. Well, so I think the good thing is now we see faces. It just reminded me when you said that we're sensitive people and we want our, things to be received well. The bad thing is the other thing that you said, which is like, you hate it when you send a bunch of ideas to a client and they're like, yeah, this idea is stupid. This is lame. We saw somebody else do this. I guess maybe this one. Send us some more ideas without you being able to like pitch it back and talk to them.
They're never that mean though. They're dispassionate, but they're never like, this is lame. They would never say, they're still professionals, right, Joe? Right? Like,
I have seen clients be mean. I haven't been on the receiving end as much of it as some other people, but and none of my current clients, of course.
Sure, of course,
they're all amazing. Yeah, but I have seen it. Yeah, I've seen people like get like kind of chewed out in front of a group of people for not having great work in that moment.
But it's not even great work. It's like you said, like you pitch them this musical, and they're like, we just don't get it, And so it's so much better when you're on there, showing them the video and watching it with them, or doing the Muppet script in the Muppet voices and being there to receive it. And I think part of, for me, like the big bummer of COVID is like the rise of Frame.io, where now the edits are like, they send you an edit, you write some time code notes, and then they send you a worse edit back, and you're like, no, it's not, you didn't quite understand, like, let's cut to the wide. And then the next round it's worse. And then you're like, okay, just go back to the first version.
Yeah.
And same on
and then they've taken the edit away from you and you never see it again.
Yeah. And also, Matt, I don't know, as a director, like for me, like I'm working on a pretty big project right now, and the pathway between me and the creative director is like, I email, I talk to my production designer, we email something to the producer, he emails the agency producer, they show the art director, they talk to the creative director, and
And
Funny.
then they get frustrated when we become friends, though, and then we just have the text exchange, because it's like there's a balance right there. I like it, like, so, for me, the directors that I work with the most, we're just cutting through all the bullshit, and we're just texting each other, hey, what do you think of this? Like, let me just send you a cut, like right now, you send me a cut. Let's just get on the phone and talk about it, because when you're kind of going through all those different channels, and like the post producer is relaying the notes to, the 3 different layers of people, it does become a bit of a game of telephone.
Yeah, and they're like slaves to the schedule. They're like, well, we're doing color tomorrow, so we got a lock. And you're like, yeah, but I know this could be so much better if I could just talk to Joe. They're like, well, Joe, it's 5 p.m. Joe's out of the office, so we got a color. We're prepping it.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, Oren, because I feel like I've been on a real bender of like getting hired specifically to kind of like help write. Like that's been the majority of my jobs for the last year at least. But I still get gatekept with post producers. And so I really chafe against that, where I'm like, hey, can I just talk to an editor? Or like, when can we session, or all of that stuff, and all of it goes out of. So I've really been enjoying a lot of access on the front end, and then I'm just
the creative.
Yeah, with the creatives, and then blocked it totally in post, which drives me nuts.
We got you into post, didn't we, on the project we worked on together? You were in touch with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. We sessioned even in person.
There you
Incredible.
go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
LA production.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh, you didn't shoot in LA, but you finished in LA.
We did shoot one day in LA.
Didn't you go to Arizona?
Yeah, we went to
Arizona and LA.
Just for the iced tea.
Yeah.
So Joe, so let's jump to like when you're hiring directors and stuff. When they haven't directed Amelie, what's tell us a little bit about like the things you like to see from like creative partners, like what gets you excited about a director, what we might think you care about that you don't actually care about.
Ooh, let's start with that, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
production company.
I don't necessarily care about I do care about the production company. I don't.
What do you care about specifically? Like what aspects of the production?
I care about
you if you've heard of them.
It's not so much that I either I will want to have heard of them, or I just want to check with people that I know who work with them that don't have something bad to say about them. Because I think that there are definitely production companies that come with warnings. They're like, hey, they are not like, I know they're going to put together a great treatment. I know you're going to feel like this is going to be great. They will not, they will not give you, an extra crouton on the salad. If like, it's like once that budget is locked, there's going to be zero flexibility. Watch out. It's going to be difficult. And if we find that sort of thing, and I respect that too, honestly, boundaries, great. Like, but a lot of it depends on the project too, because if I know I'm on a project that has the flexibility on my side or the client side to increase the budget, great. If I know that it's a client that is not going to be able to increase the budget at all, then I just need to be flexible within these smaller budgets. So I need to know that I'm actually working with a flexible production company.
Do you find then that you tend to work with known entities one way or the other, or are you working with
not like known
often?
like necessarily in the sense that they like the big names, but like
but I mean familiar companies you've worked with before.
Companies that or companies that I know someone who has worked with them, or maybe a director has gone from one company to the next. And I know that director, and I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot with this new production company. Or a producer that I'm working with is like, hey, I know we've never together worked on this, but back in my old job, I worked at this other company. They did something really great for me. Okay, let's go. Let's give it a shot. And it doesn't mean I won't work with production companies that I don't know anything about, as long as we're having a chemistry call that feels like that we hit it off and that they're the right people for it. But sometimes if it's down to two directors, and like one is with a production company that has gone the extra mile for me, and one is from a production company that I don't really know, I'm probably gonna go with the
You want those croutons.
I want those croutons. And by the way, I was
what kind of croutons?
I was
You're big
crouton metaphor. Okay.
We ask, I think, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but because we have had a lot of debate about like a director being on a roster, like,
sure,
it doesn't matter if you are the little fish at Caviar or the big fish at Stepped or whatever, do those calculations matter to the creatives? And you're an LA based creative that has a film background, you maybe you may be more in the know about the production side of things than every other creative director. But yeah, do you have a take on that?
On
Like
if
how
I'd
important it
rather
is to
work
be
with
on a roster?
if I'd rather work with like someone who's like a smaller from like a smaller production company, but sorry, tell me that question again.
Or
Ask me
just
the question
more
again.
like rostered or unrostered, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
freelance versus
No, it doesn't matter. And also it really just depends on the project. There's some projects I have some directors that I like to work with that are not rostered, and I've worked with them in three different production companies with the same director. Just depending on what's right for the project, because maybe we're shooting in another state, so the one we worked with on the last project is not really the right one. They don't have the same setup in New York as they do in LA or something like that. So then I'll work with that other production company. So
I'm
it is
sure that
still
production company would be like, we can service New York or LA.
yes,
of course.
yeah, they might, but it's still director first, for me before production company. I want to make sure the director or directors that we're working with are right. And then it's like if I'm in a double or triple bid situation, then it's really where the production company comes in more. But for me too, with directors, asking like what the part that matters or doesn't matter. For me personally, I'm less impressed by a fancy treatment, like a fancy looking treatment with some crazy AI, comps and the
animate on.
No animations, please. No, I can't do it. You press. It takes so long to go through the deck anyhow. If I have to press each slide and there's animation between each slide, that's already that's killing 30 seconds of time. Sorry.
Yeah, but typewriter effect. Come on, man.
But so I think that's sure, it's nice to look at a good deck. The client, yes, can be impressed by a nice looking deck, but it's really less about the design of the deck and more about the image pulls and like the mood boards that we're pulling. Is like, is this the right look and feel? Is there actually a direction, like a point of view when it comes to the tone? Are they actually showing, and this can come across in the treatment really well, I think sometimes, are they actually showing that they understand how to do something that is going to be short when it's short? So the one thing I did recently in New York, it was for a whiskey, and we triple bid, and the woman who won that it was because one of the reasons because she had a section in her deck that was like, here is the singular, if you were to pull one singular moment from each of these spots, there's like 5-6 second spots that we're working.
Awesome.
Like this is that moment, right? Like, because really there's not much more you're going to have in this one moment. But everybody else talked about it in such grandiose ways that it felt like they were going to be building a feature film. And you're like, this is beautiful, but like, that's not what you're going to actually capture. And like, there was one director who was realistic about what she was actually going to be able to capture. And I guess because we are aware of this as as creative directors, when I was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense.
Do you feel like if those other directors had said all the things about like every single tiny detail, but had led with like, hey, I'm going to tell you about all that other stuff. Here's the thing that's the most important, and everything else is just kind of details in the background. Would that have righted the ship for them, you think? Or
it might have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to remember all the details of each of those treatments right now, but coming to the table in some sort of way, because essentially that's what this other woman did was say like, yeah, look, let's talk about this, the costume design and set decoration and all this sort of stuff, right? But let's actually say, what are we actually talking about right here, and get really focused.
On
that note of like being realistic, I think I find myself in a position a lot where like I'm given a script that is there's just no way it's going to fit in 30 seconds, and I'm always on the fence about whether I should say like how much I should lead with that. Like, hey guys, this script is like a 45-second spot,
sure. Especially when it's someone you haven't worked with before. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have a working relationship.
Yeah, because I know, I'm sure that from a director's perspective, so much of what you're the first thing you need to do is flattery, right? You're like, oh, like I love the creative. Oh my gosh. This
or
is
like how do we figure out how we fit into it? But it is
Yeah.
sales, I think, to
Yeah.
your ultimate point, right? Yeah,
But-
we're still trying to sell ourselves, so you don't want to lead with like, let me tell you what you're doing wrong,
Right. But also, I think not just the flattery, I think we come preloaded with this idea that you guys have spent 3 months going back and forth with the client, and we just saw this thing 2 days ago and we're like, yeah, this concept doesn't really work. Here's a better concept,
Yeah.
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 What do you think?
I'd rather, you basically come with ideas, like, because at least, but be flexible, because I think there's sometimes I would probably admit that, like, I need help on this. Yeah, I know it's 45 seconds. Like, I couldn't figure out how to get it cut down. This is not my only project. I'm doing 7 other projects right now.
Sure.
So when did I have time to cut this 45 second? You know what? The client liked it. And I figured I'd fix it when we shoot it. So I think coming in, just being honest, to me is better than just the like, oh, this is gonna be great, and then finding out later in the edit that what we shot doesn't work.
Or like, oh, I booked the job now. Let me tell you all the things I want to fix
That's the
or
worst.
change.
That's the worst. Because
Oh man.
Well, then it's a bait and switch, right? Like, which you don't want to do that either, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'll be like, I have some ideas on like some things we can shorten, and then, like we book it, and then it's like, okay, well, what? Like, I think this little section, like we lift that whole thing out. They're like, well, that's the client, like really needs that section.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends too. It's like, it's of course in the treatment phase, if you're just triple bidding on something, you're not going to get into all the details about like, oh, but it's nice to, when I get to see the script kind of read, I guess, like back to me to say like, oh, here's my take on your script, and in that, there might be a suggestion. Oh, I think maybe we can lose this in order to make sure we get this in time because I timed it out and it would take this long, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, that's not gonna work, right? It's kind of like, oh, well, show what will work if that doesn't work.
I remember I've done treatments where I literally just record myself reading the script, and I'm like, you want this to be a 15. Here's me reading the dialogue. It's 22 seconds. Here's me doing a 15-second version. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
and I think I did it. I did that once. And I mean,
that's funny because I can think of, I will do I'll be like, hey guys, I think this is over long. Let's trying to find some places to cut, and be repeating that over and over again, and then finally get to an animatic and be like, look guys, this is me sped up at I'm 85% speed or 125% speed. I'm going super fast. There's not a single break in any of these, and we're still 15 seconds over. And people will just be like, well,
just do it faster.
Oh, wow.
So like pretty frequently, know.
Do you guys feel like triple bidding? Are you guys just like, this is just part of the job now, and like we're just you're just gonna do it? Because I ask it because like I hate it. Like I hate having to do it, and I'm usually required to do it. And just because I've been on the other side of it, maybe that's why. Maybe just because I'm too empathetic or something. But I'm just like, I hate making people do that much work, and with the chance that I'm not going to pick them for this, and it keeps me up at night.
The counterpoint is like, you probably know who your favorite is, and sometimes somebody comes through and like beats that person out, but sometimes we know we're the third choice. Like sometimes we know like we're the dark horse or we're the curveball or whatever. Oren, I don't want to speak for you. I think Oren loves a treatment or obsesses over a treatment, I should say. I don't know that you love it. I really like them. I pitch pretty well, and I'm relatively competitive. So I would rather be in a triple bid than miss out on the chance to bid for sure. Yeah. Triple over, no bid for sure. Of course, we both prefer just getting offered, but like, I'm here to like show my stuff. We're playing pro ball. That's the deal. If there's resources, like a little bit of money to pay a treatment designer, that's helpful. Or if we're not the choice, that's when it sucks. You know what I mean? Like when it's like, we're just kind of going through the motions because we have to, but really the guy or gal who's done it a bunch of times already, who you went to college with and has been doing this campaign for 30 years, and they know how to do it. It always is a little bit of a bummer when, that person continues to get it.
Yeah.
But I'd
Yeah.
rather have the chance not to dethrone them anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I mean, there's definitely like times where I've really gone in just not knowing, like after a chemistry call, who it is that is kind of in the lead, and the treatment really does make the difference. The other thing, though, I would say, talking about things that are important, the chemistry call is actually really, I find, important to me, because I mean, this is so much. Because maybe I'm the type of creative director who gets pretty involved, like on set. Like I can't really just like hang back at Video Village and just kind of wait for the director to come back and talk. Like I think, and because I think I know when I should and shouldn't be speaking, like the directors are usually like, yeah, come hang out over here. But like it needed to be collaborative. And if it's not, if I get the sense that the director's like, no, like I'm gonna make my shit and I'll give it to you and you can go edit and do what you want with it, it's probably not going to be a good fit, at least for me.
How can you tell in that vibe check if that's the case? What are you looking for?
Because usually they're doing it they're like they're being collaborative, they're being flexible, I'd say, in their thinking. I think flexibility is a huge thing. I think you can be really kind of creative and adamant, or I think you can both fight for what would be good creative, but also be a flexible thinker and saying, if that doesn't actually work or make sense, let's come up with something else that does, and that we can all agree on. And that's where we have the best, I think, collaborations, when we're not just fighting back and forth over something, but like, okay, that doesn't work for you, this doesn't work for me. So then let's come up with a third option that's going to work for both of us.
Yeah.
Do you think that something I've kind of been doing differently recently is I've been doing like a lot more homework before that creative briefing? I think when I first started doing commercials, I'd be like, okay, they're going to tell me all about it. So I'll just come in, fresh faced.
Yeah.
And then hear about it, then I'll make the treatment. And then that's my pitch.
Yeah.
But then recently I've been like, I actually heard JJ Adler. Do you know her? She has a company called Ruckus.
Joe, do me a favor, don't look her up. She's so good.
She's a really good. She did that Manscaped ad last year with the little guys with that their heads are everyone's balls walking around. Really good.
Oh, yeah,
it's very good.
Anyway, she was said on Jordan Brady's podcast. She's like, when I do the creative briefing call, I'll just usually come in with like just a couple ideas for jokes and like options for jokes, and be like, are you thinking it's more like this or more like this? And she's like, I'm kind of detecting the tone that they like in that first call. And so I was like, yeah, that's really smart. Like I should come in with a little bit of a point of view that's malleable, like you said. That's not like, this is how
I
it
like
has
to come up with pitches too. Like, oh, hey, this is what I was thinking. Like showing that I've thought it through, basically,
At first I didn't like that, because it kind of, like a while back, because it felt like, oh shit, like I'm just trying to meet you right now. Like I'm not, like I might have had that idea and 3 other ideas that are similar to it, and now I'm not going to work with you, but you're going to think that I'm trying to take your creative ideas that you pitched on this call. I was like, don't give me your ideas yet. But I also have realized, as we kind of keep going through this, that it is very difficult to try and figure out on a chemistry call, if you have chemistry with somebody, if you don't understand like their tone or like what they think is funny. So there is a balance that I think works, where like I guess JJ Adler, you said like, oh, like is it more like this or more like that? It's not really like pitching an idea, but it's kind of giving a flavor of what your style is, how you might approach the content.
Yeah, I think there's also just like again, like presenting prepared. Do you know what I mean? Like coming correct. Like, here we go. Like, I've got stuff. I care about this. Let's get into it. And I guess I'm never worried about whether you steal an idea or not, because like I got plenty of ideas. You can have some, Sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. That call is, I guess I feel like I've been pitching against like really good directors recently. And so in my mind, it's like, I think we're all like probably doing an okay vibe check. And it's just like, are you just like the right personality for this job or not?
I remember hearing that Taika Waititi would like on those vibe checks not know a thing about the project and would like be like cooking eggs or whatever, and it was like very charming, but also like
It doesn't matter though for him, I guess
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think they should just tell us when Taika doesn't direct a Super Bowl commercial instead of letting us know that he did direct them. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between being famous and
Right.
not
That's what I'm
famous.
getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he could just come in fresh faced. We're like, okay, well, what do I do to hit it out of the park, basically, because it's so competitive, because everybody is so good. Like, what are the things you do to like get a leg up, basically? So it's interesting to hear that you don't want to, because kind of what you're saying is like, hey, like the vibe check is the vibe check. It's not a sales call. And like, there are absolutely people who have told us the opposite many times,
Well,
like-
but even Joe is saying that.
I've come
He's
around.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Joe,
sure, I guess
Joe
that's
is
true.
not saying it's a sales call, but he's saying it's pretty important. It sometimes is more important than the treatment and the deck.
Mhm.
Like if you kind of turn me off in that
Mhm.
first call, you have a
So
you have a long way to
yeah.
go to win me back.
If you don't seem like
Yeah.
you care, that's the other thing too. If you don't really like, it seems like you're really excited to do this and you want to be part of it. And even if you don't, like just even being able to have energy to kind of fake it for a little bit, it actually means something because it means
Mhm.
that you do care enough to put on an act for a minute. But, there's nothing like, showing up on set and the director is just kind of like, I'm just here to collect the paycheck and you're just not
actually.
vibing.
I feel like that's my superpower of late is like finding a way to like connect to any brand. Like, I'm working on doing some stuff for the UPS store right now, and it's like I'm like, I just bought all this tape for my kid. We just built this cardboard box, like I'm like, what are the odds? Like it doesn't matter what it is. I'm just like,
You're just relatable. You're so relatable. Wow.
no, every brand, it's like, oh, maxi pads. Like I use those on my armpits when I'm sweating. Like I feel like can be passionate about anything.
Yeah, about any brand. That's very funny. Joe, you were saying something about being flexible. And another thing, not to make this just about Oren and Matt's anxieties when in pitching, but like, I think that when we started, being easy to work with was at a premium in terms of like what I thought my personal brand was. Being easy to work with, being flexible, rolling with punches, a lot of improv, all of that stuff, right? And then at a certain point, it became clear that like you don't want to accidentally be perceived as a pushover or as a person who doesn't care or who doesn't have vision. And so you're always kind of trying to like, thread the needle of being clear, like, hey, this is important to me, so I'm going to say so. And if it doesn't go my way or whatever, that's okay. But have you seen instances where you found like people were so easy to work with that they seemed detached or the other way around? Like, how do you find the happy medium between that,
Yeah, that is a great point because I do think the happy medium is exactly what it is that I'm looking for in a director. Sometimes you don't know until you're actually there on set and in the stressful situations because that's like when the true colors shine, I think. And it's like, okay, we have like 3 minutes left, and when like we have 2 shots left. Like, which one are we going to do? And some directors I don't know, and that's where I have to be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, just have to, someone has to just stay level headed and come in and do it. But to answer your question about flexibility, to me, that's more about like, hey, let me throw you this pitch. Like, I have this idea, like in this scene, this person's going to like grab the ball, like, from here, and they're going to like bounce it off that other person's head. And like, there's going to be like a big laugh. And I'd be like, look, I was like, this brand's media code says that they cannot ever bounce anything off of someone else's head. Like we're gonna have to like go a different way to do this, and so be like, no, we just gotta try. Come on, we gotta do a thing. I'm like no, I need you to be flexible. We can try something else, but we're not throwing the ball off the person's head right now, right? And I think that's the type of flexibility, at least, that I can't spend the time on set arguing about something that's just not going to be part of it. It's not going to happen. Yeah. There are other things that are worth saying, like, hey, let's get one like this and let's get one like that. But there are some things that is just not worth it. Now, Jean was not very flexible, but
right.
But
it's a genius, right?
It's genius, yeah,
exactly. This is exactly where the kind of the anxiety comes from. It's like, well, he was uncompromising, and that's why we have Amelie.
What's right, Amelie? Yeah, and that's why
Amelie is not 30 seconds, and it is not paid for by brand.
Yeah,
Right.
There was one moment on set where the client really like wanted something, and I just kept telling the client, I was like, I really don't think he's gonna like that note. I was like, I don't think I really want to go tell him that note right now. He's not. And they're like, Joe, like, no, we just need to get one like that. Just ask him to get one. And I'm just like, okay. Well, actually, can we just maybe not? And they're like, no, Joe, can we just get one? I'm like, okay, I'll go ask him. I'm like, JP, hey, so the client said that they want one where she actually says, whatever it is. He goes, what's
Bonvoy?
No. He goes, no. Who said this? I'm like, oh, just the client. No, I speak to them. And he goes like rushing over to the client. I'm like, no. I was like, JP, please don't. And he goes, you want me to do it like this? I do it like this. But I tell you what that is. It is masturbation. It is masturbation. It is meaningless. It just goes out into the world and it is nothing. It is nothing. And he's just screaming at the client. And I was like, I told you he wasn't going to like that. No.
Did
you shoot it?
Though? Did you shoot it?
Yeah. He shot it. He shot it. Yeah. He's still, we all know who's paying us. We're still going to.
The worst is when you say that and you do that, and then finally, like, you shoot it.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I guess it works.
Yeah.
Hate it.
But
That's so funny.
I guess some directors have the clout to kind of yell at a client, but also, we were all friends by that point too. We were in Japan. We were in Japan.
He was being a little
being,
funny, I hope.
Yeah, after being in Dubai and after being in Nashville and all over the world. So by that point, there was some room just to have a cute temper tantrum.
That's funny.
That's the real goal, is to have cute temper tantrums.
Yeah.
My last question was going to be like, I guess what's like the type of work that excites you the most? Like, what's the what
excites you the most? You mean in advertising or like in the world? What do you mean?
I guess as a creative director, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, as a creative director, I still like things that feel kind of, I guess, a little bit more personal, a little bit more. Well, first, I just like things that are funny, like humor and having a good time in advertising. I think that's the number one thing that I want to do. I just don't oftentimes understand the kind of hyper serious marketing. And, I'm lucky to work at a place that really understands comedy well. It's like leads with comedy and irreverence, I think. Not taking ourselves too seriously is so important. I feel that from how I want to show up at work, on set, just kind of being like, like, this is not rocket science. Like, we're selling things and we're gonna have a good time doing it. And we want the customer to feel like the same good time when they see something and just have a good association with this brand. So things that don't take themselves too seriously and have fun are definitely things that I like in advertising. But then I also have, some projects that do feel like when a brand has a reason to say something meaningful, I think that's really nice to be part of. When I was working on Bonobos, which is a men's like fashion brand, I guess you'd say, like they make pants and they have 172 different size and fit combinations. At least they did years ago when I was working on it. And we were creating a commercial where we were going to cast 172 different men to actually show that like there's the body diversity that is in these pants. So like could fit in these pants is real. And in doing so, I just pitched the client and said, like, let's also interview every single one of these 172 men. I was like, I'll do it. I was like, we'll just get during the fittings, like we'll get a room at the fittings. They'll just cycle through. If they do their fitting, they come in for a quick interview. Do their fitting, come in for a quick interview. And let's talk to them about what it means to be masculine. Because if you look up the definition of masculine, it's like things like, red-blooded and, they're just like things that I just kind of traditionally, he'd be like, oh, like that's like, yeah, I guess that's masculine, but is that all the masculine is? And we asked every one of these people, and it was anyone who identifies as being a man. So it doesn't have to, it could be, yes, this doesn't have to be traditional, like masculine people who are in these pants, right? It's like, it's anybody who's like, yeah, this to me, I'm masculine, right? And we asked them what it meant to them. And we cut together like a 90-second documentary about reimagining what the word masculine could really mean, like redefining that word. And the client, like, to her credit, saw this and was like, wow, like this is actually really, really powerful. Let's buy a huge block during the ESPYs and let's air this as like in its entirety during the
Oh, wow.
90
you know,
seconds.
during like a big masculine like event, right?
Sure.
And it got a lot of like praise, but and it got a lot of backlash from, you know, the manosphere
Mhm.
being like,
Mhm.
like, what are you trying
Sure.
to do? Like redefine masculinity? How dare you? But then
Yeah.
people like Reese Witherspoon were sharing it and posting and being like, I want my boys to see this, like, because this is actually something that is meaningful. And to me, it was something that was meaningful too. You know, at that point, I had just had kids. I had two young kids. I had a young boy, and I really wanted to think about how we can think about masculinity differently and define it for ourselves in a really kind of healthy way. And to be able to do that with a brand and, you know, paid for by a brand was, you know, really, I think, impactful and pivotal to me. I want to definitely do more of that type of work where I can.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really
awesome.
cool.
A bunch of butt jokes. I could do 172 butt jokes if you want.
Can we just have that conversation?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
More like
Yeah.
bonobos, you know? Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, where can people keep track of all of the awesome stuff that you're up to, Joe?
you know, I think I'm going to start. I got to put some stuff on my Instagram. I think that's the way to go. I used to have a website. I don't have one anymore. So I think that I should probably
That's
start
the
that,
true
which-
luxury of a creative director. Not even
Mhm.
bothering with a website anymore.
I'm sure you have a LinkedIn.
I do have a LinkedIn, but I don't use it very often. It does have a bio on there that I realized had a couple typos when I looked at it prior to sending to you guys today. And I didn't bother changing them either. I just left them there. I was like,
Life is good, Joe. Life is
Yeah.
Yeah, not written by AI. AI told us.
good. Yeah.
yeah. Are you guys?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. We get a lot of comments. If we've had a couple people on to talk about AI in the last couple months, and like a lot of like a lot of people call us, you and I, Oren, AI.
No.
Yeah. And then somebody on a TikTok just the other
Too
day
perfect.
said that we were like that thinks that we were making an AI film. I'll offline with you about it. But I was
Well,
like,
Matt,
this
can I
is
ask you
very
guys, as directors, like, is there expectations now, do you feel like, from people you're working with to use AI more and to be capable at it yourselves, like in building decks? Like, for instance, you know, we just did something with celebrities, and it almost felt like the expectation was knowing who the celebrities are going to be, that the treatment needs to have every image be an AI image of that celebrity.
Yeah. So if they're both pretty good at Photoshop, and the designers we work with are pretty good at Photoshop, so like I've put the celebrity into boards plenty of times before. I don't want more than like 10 or 15% of the images to be AI if I can help it. Like it depends on how specific it is, but like I pull too much from movies and pop culture anyway. So like I think it would stand out a little bit too much. So I don't feel pressure. Oftentimes I'll have like a designer pull back, honestly. You'll be like, hey, this is too much AI. I want to like let those images count for sure. Because sometimes it's impossible to find the thing that's literally the beat in your boards. Like sometimes it's important to like have it be representational, but for the most part, you know, I'm AI fluent. I like VFX.
Fluid.
I like, you know, it's fine, you know. But it's more that I think sometimes people think it's a little gross. So like it's to taste, basically. What about you, Kaplan?
Yeah, it depends on the project. I did a project where like was very clear that like a huge part of it was going to have to be, we have to basically
sure.
build a video game from scratch. Kind of big part of it's going to be like AI generated. But I try to, like the places where I'm more likely to use it are in the script breakdown. If I'm doing like a very specific action and like it fits in, I think I maybe have done it for a cover twice, but
Yeah, I would.
but my process is I have to do the image pull. Like that's how I get ideas, you know. And so going to Midjourney or whatever or Photoshop or whatever, like that's not giving me ideas, you know. That's not inspiring me at all. That's just me writing things. So I use it to maybe if I'm really missing something hyper specific that I need. I do use it sometimes to like animate things, or for demos. I just did like I do these video test videos where I'm like, here's 3 different ways we can do this. Here's the AI version. Here's the VFX version. Here's the practical version. But what I do find a little frustrating is when an agency gives us boards based AI generated boards, and
That's
that they really don't. They act like they want us to plus them up and bring our own ideas and our own things, but they've kind of like sold the client already on these like AI boards, and
like everyone has that image in mind already, and so whether it's good or bad, it's what everyone has accepted is the version of the creative. That's the thing that's dangerous about AI boards, for sure.
And in a triple bid, it's really hard to differentiate yourself as a director when you're all basically told to shoot the same shots, you know,
which aren't even that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I saw boards the other day actually that were AI boards, and I thought were good. For the most part, they're really middle of the road at best. You know,
it's like if I'm not hiring you guys to think about shots that I would not think about, then what's the point, right? It's like then I don't even need a director. That's like ridiculous. I hope I never do that.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, my fear is more that you and your art director will be like, oh, damn, we basically just made the ad. Why do we even need a director?
Yeah, I mean, I have done that, but I've known, that it's like maybe like a product shoot or something like that, and it's like, okay, this one I can build with a photo shoot and bring it to life with generations.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's a little bit scary. I'm not like scared because I feel like I'm pretty flexible, but I don't know. There's some things about it that just don't feel as fun. And I think sometimes I have like AI nightmares where like everything in the dream also just kind of like looks sort of like real, but not real. And it's like, is this a dream or is this AI? I can't even tell because we're just seeing it so much. And
yeah, I do think if you're a good creative director, you're pretty safe for a while. Cause I mean, I can't tell you how many scripts I've been like, hey, Claude, like help me punch this up. And it's just like worst joke after worst joke, or like just nothing useful.
Yeah. 172 butt jokes.
Yeah. Some of those have to be AI generated jokes.
Not me.
Anyhow.
Well, Joe, do you have a second more to endorse with us?
Yeah.
Unpaid endorsements.
Okay. So my unpaid endorsement is very LA specific. So apologies, non-Angelinos, but it's worth it. I just went to Big Bear for the weekend. And have you guys been?
I used to have a house. I used to have a house in Big Bear.
So then you might be familiar with the alpine sled. They have during the summer, they have
non-snow sledding.
That's a non-snow sledding. It's kind of like, imagine like a bobsled track, but you can go as fast or as slow as you want. It's $10. You take a ski lift up the mountain, and then like you could go down. It was me and my kid, and we just rode down like a relatively long alpine sled that was nice and easy and safe for kids of all ages, and was genuinely magical. It was so fun.
They also called the Alpine Slide.
Oh, pardon me, Alpine Slide at Magic Mountain. It says here. They also have one that's like more of like a roller coaster, but still a single sled, and it's still gravity driven. But yeah, I had an incredible time. So if you're in Big Bear, you can't miss it. It's kind of like a relatively large mountain with a bunch of, mechanical things running all around it. So the Alpine Slide at Magic Mountain, Big Bear, was really fun. It was super fun, actually. Joe, what you got?
Okay. I'm going to give you food and drink. Two separate ones. Okay? Food is going to, of course, have to be my favorite Lebanese restaurant, which is in Glendale. There's one in Glendale, one in Highland Park. It's called Scaff's. There's Scaff's in Glendale and Scaff's on York in Highland Park.
Yes.
All owned by the Scaff family, right? So crazy story. When I went there first, like 20 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, something like that. I was newish to LA. I've been here maybe 20 something years now, right? And I was like, my uncles and aunts, they all owned Lebanese restaurants back in Boston. So I was used to going to Lebanese restaurants growing up my entire life. In LA, I hadn't quite found the one that really felt like my aunt's cooking, right? But then I went to this one in Glendale.
Is it kind of small on the inside?
Yeah, it's not huge. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
it was, and I was eating everything, like the falafel, the tabbouleh, like the baba ganoush. Everything tasted like my aunt's cooking. And I was like, can I speak to the owner? I just want to, talk to the owner. And she comes out and she's like, is everything okay? And I'm like, no, everything is great. This just tastes, so much like my family's cooking. I was, what part of Lebanon are you guys from? Maybe it's regional. She's like, I'm from a town called Safli, in the Bekaa Valley. And I was like, that is where my aunt's from. No way. I was like, I knew it. That's why. She's like, what's your aunt's name? I said, Amal Raskala, previously Amal Saroufim. And she goes, these are your aunt's recipes. She taught me how to cook in Lebanon. And I was like, what? She's like, you're Tony's son? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm best friends with your cousin Katya. She's like, we have a catering business together. And I'm like, wait, what? And it turned out like she has sons who are my age, and now we're all friends. And they, so it is the best place. I know it's LA local, but it is the best place. And the sister has Scaff's Sweets, which will ship baklava anywhere in the United States. So if you have a craving for baklava, check out Scaff's Sweets, SKAF.
I have been there. I'm looking at the photos now on Google, and even if you're not an LA native, if you do come, I mean, Highland Park is like a really cool place to walk around, hip neighborhood. So you should definitely check it out. Yeah.
And then to drink, I would say have my friend's new orange tangerine soda beverage called Tiz, created by Todd Strauss. I hope I pronounced his name. I don't just say his name out loud. I think I got that right. Who also happens to be a commercial and feature film director.
Who directed like a College Humor guy back in the day. I remember his name from. He used to do Jake and Amir videos. Amir is in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle 3, like the Christmas one.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, his company is called Tiz, and it's tangerine fizzy soda. You can get it around LA, but it's also, they're getting a distributor soon, so you'll be able to get it beyond LA soon. Maybe it's already beyond LA. Maybe it's in New York. I actually don't really know. And to bring it full circle, he was also the director of the Smirnoff Ice Smash Tea Party, the musical that we made. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's how we connected.
That's excellent. Awesome. Yeah. I feel like maybe I've heard about Tiz. Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun branding too.
How do you just like start a drink? I mean, I know Ben Stiller did it, but
well, he had a tangerine tree in his yard, and the old lady next door came up and was like, you need to, pick these now. They're right now. And he's like, what am I going to do with 200 tangerines? What do you mean I have to pick them now? And she's like, squeeze them. And so
did he make a TikTok about this?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I think so. I think I've seen the TikTok. This is why I've heard of Tiz. That's so funny.
Yep.
Wow. Tiz a pretty good idea.
As it is. Kaplan,
wow.
What you got?
Just going to name 3 things I bought off Amazon that probably everybody knows about. One is, you guys have dogs, Joe? I know Matt doesn't.
Yeah.
You got a dog? Joe. Sometimes when you get dogs, they like to chew every single thing in your house. My dog has ruined our dining room table, our couch. We just washed the cushions and like the cushion covers and left the cushions out. Came home, cushions completely shredded. Anyway, there's this spray you can buy on Amazon for like $8. It's called Bitter Apple Taste Deterrent Spray for dogs. Spray it on anything you don't want your dog to bite, to eat.
Let me ask, have you used it?
Yeah, we used it with the previous dog. We've never had a dog this way. We just got this puppy.
I thought you meant has he used it himself? Like when he bites the leg of the table.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Does it
taste like apples?
When I was a kid, my brother like sucked his thumb, and my parents got some like bitter thing that they would put on his thumb that is like you can't get it off. It's just like your thumb just tastes disgusting, and it works.
Well, I hope it works for you. My parents, we had a dog that would gnaw on like wooden furniture and ruined everything, and we used bitter apple, and it did not work. So I hope it works for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we just got in the mail today. I also just got a right angle screwdriver. I had to, when you have to like. You screw something in like a very tiny amount of space where you could never fit a screwdriver. It's like a torque one. It just is. It's like a stick. It's got like a little hex hole that you can put different bits
you
in.
have something you wanted to screw
like that?
Yes, exactly what Matt is installing. Sure. I actually talked about this, I think, on the podcast already. But you can just buy those soft close. You can turn any cabinet into a soft close cabinet. So I was like doing that in our bathroom, and you have to put them like really near the top of the cabinet so that your wife doesn't notice that you installed them, because for some reason she doesn't like it when I mess with things around the house. So I could not fit a screwdriver there. I had to buy this thing. It was $10 on Amazon.
And totally worth it. They're awesome.
Yeah. I'm like IKEA furniture. Anytime you have to like get a screwdriver in some like a baby crib, you know how they always have like the columns. Then the last thing, I got this new shed and I installed some lighting in it. And my stepdad was like, it would be really nice if like you just walked in the shed and the lights come on. And so I just bought this like motion sensor light switch. You just change out the outlet for this light switch, and now it's awesome. Every time I go to my shed, the light turns on, and then it turns itself off. After like 5 minutes.
You still have the old switch that you used before you put the motion sensor one in?
Well, so it was an outlet, and it was just plugged
Joe,
in.
do you need a switch?
Yeah, I need a switch because I don't like the bathroom has one of those switches that just automatically goes on.
I think it's code,
and it's just too bright in the bathroom. You just need to have
in the middle of the night.
It's just too much. I don't know what is going on right now.
Men of a certain age sometimes have to pee.
So I've been doing the opposite. I've been trying to swap them out and put in just regular switches.
Well, yeah, that's like $3 in Home Depot. This was $13 on Amazon. You do have to like do a little wiring because it's not a plug anymore. Anyway, three things that have really made my life
you've purchased recently.
Potentially better in the last one. Anyhow, if you want to tell us what's making your life better, please email us at justshootapod. Hit us up on Instagram at justshootapod. I'm actually starting to answer some DMs, which seems like I'm the only person that answers them. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm at okaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Marumo. This episode was edited by Kevin Oyang. Thanks, Kevin. Our social media is done by Lily Bouvier. Thanks, Lily. And produced by Tyler Small. Thanks, Tyler. And you're listening to music provided by the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. Thanks, everyone.
I love this song.
Goodbye.
Hey.